after a very long hiatus because of me. Well, maybe not because of me, because of water.
Because of water.
Because of my basement. That apparently isn't waterproof. I wish it was. Okay, let's pull that over here. Okay. My phone is doing some weird stuff right now.
Come on.
Okay. That goes to everyone on Discord, and hello, everybody. And let me get comfortable here. And
Settling in.
Yep.
We haven't been on here for a while, and so we're just gonna...
Somebody moved my chair.
I'm always moving your chair.
So we can start the recording. Hello and welcome back to another installment of the Walk in Obedience Bible Study. I am joined, as always, with Dave.
Good morning. It is nice to be able to be here with you.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and we had to take a week off because my basement flooded, and we had to tend to that, which is still not tended to, but it's closer than what it was.
It's getting there.
It's dry.
It's dry. That's
which
important.
Is a vast improvement.
Yes.
And we're not getting flooded anymore, which is another vast improvement, so that's nice.
That is nice.
So I would like to share with everybody the normal plugs of we have a Patreon now over at patreon.com/walkinobedience, where we use that money to help further this ministry. If you feel like this ministry has helped you in any way whatsoever and you want to give back in some capacity as financially, please go over there and do that. But first, talk to God, ask Him, see if that's what He wants you to do, and then you can figure out how much you want to give over there. Any amount helps, no matter what. And prayers help.
Absolutely.
And also,
there's power in prayer.
That's right. And also sharing the name of Walk in Obedience with everybody that you know, and they can come in and hopefully we can help them too. And as always, the money is not necessary. We will always be here doing this no matter what. So don't feel like you have to give anything. With that said, we also are on Podbean and iTunes under Speak Where the Bible Speaks. The titles start with Walk in Obedience. Those are the ones we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still on Stitcher and SoundCloud under Walk in Obedience. So your goal for today is to tell at least one random person.
There you go.
No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Who knows who you're going to talk to? They're going to get offended. You'll probably have the police called on you. So
maybe start with a friend.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe start with somebody in your church.
There you go.
That might help.
Hey, there's a really interesting, I'll put it that way, Bible study that you can join in with live.
Yes.
Which is, I think, is the coolest part, that no matter where you are, you can join in the Bible study on twitch.tv and put your questions in and be a part of the discussion.
Yeah, and you can search Fuzzy Spartan when you go over to Twitch, and you will find my channel because I'm the only person that would choose that name. And
it's unique.
Yes.
Which is what you want.
Yeah, and
right?
you can follow me there, and you can join us live with the chat, and you can ask whatever questions you would like to ask over there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Typically every Wednesday and every Thursday, 1:30 Eastern Standard.
Yep. So we will jump into the Bible study. Where we stopped last time was 13:9 in Genesis. You have someone ringing your door.
I know. I was trying to see if I could see who it might be.
That's fine. I can read. So
Okay.
I'll get everyone caught up. So 13:9 was where we left off, and we were talking about Abraham and Lot separating because they got so massive, like with their animals and the people following them and their servants and workers and so on and so forth. They just didn't have enough room where they were to sustain both of those large parties. So Abraham talked a lot and said, if you go to the right, I'll go to the left. You go to the left, I'll go to the right, and we can have plenty of room for our livestock to graze and our people to kind of settle down and start a life. So we can jump into Genesis 13:10 right now, and that reads, Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan toward Zor was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So that gives you kind of a historical context as to when Lot found this area.
Yes. And it was lush and beautiful, and
yes,
it was very appealing to the eye.
Yeah.
Which I believe that's why Lot took it.
Yeah.
He was given the choice, when they had to separate together, and he's looking over all the places, and when you have such a large group of people and a large herd of animals, pick the place that's going to be easy. He's going to take the plains, so that's the flat areas. It's going to be fertile, and so that's what he desires. It's going to be easy for him, but sometimes easy isn't the best way.
No.
And we find out later that
it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. I mean, he gets himself in some trouble a couple different times.
Yeah.
Because of this area that he chose to go to, and Abraham had to save him twice.
Yeah. Just like a millennial.
Yeah. But I'm not getting in that.
I'm allowed to say that because I am one.
Because you are one. But sometimes things that are appealing to the eye aren't necessarily good.
That's right.
For us.
So 13:11. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east, and the two men parted company.
All right.
So he saw it, and he liked it, and said, I'm going to go over there.
Yes. Yep.
Moving on to 13:12. Also, for anyone listening to the podcast, we have a little pictures up of the verses on Twitch. So if you can come over to Twitch, you can see those little pictures.
That's right. Nice little slideshows.
Yes. 13:12. Abraham lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom.
All right. So you get some picture of where Abraham and Lot kind of divided in these areas.
Yes.
And where they went to. Lot more towards kind of the river valley. Sodom and Gomorrah, that's kind of the area he's picking towards. And if you've got a map to glance at real quick, I don't have one on the screen, which I should. Kind of in the area of the Dead Sea.
Okay.
That area where he is. And then, so we look at that now, and it's not as plush and wonderful as it seems here. And so some things have changed, and I think that's why, Moses, when he's recording this for us, he lets us know that, it was well watered everywhere, and you think, what? That's not this area that I understand. And then he puts that note in there, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
And so the destruction that it's chapters later that we read of what happens to Sodom and Gomorrah, but the destruction's so great that it changed this area.
Yes. All right, moving on to 13:13. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord.
All right.
Now, do you think this is something that Lot knew?
I don't know. It just from the kind of casual reading of it, it seems to me that he chose this land because of its well-watered, green, plush area for his servants and for his herds.
And really didn't do his homework.
Yeah, and didn't maybe he didn't know the people very well, but one of these lessons learned, when you and that's kind of one of those things you and I were just talking about before we started streaming, is you've got to be careful with the company you keep.
Yeah.
Because so many times they can influence you in ways you think, oh, I'll never do something like that. I'll never get involved with the things that those people are involved in. But Lot is an excellent lesson in that. He went to this area because it looked nice. Probably it was going to be easy for him to oversee all these people and all of his animals. But it was close to people who were sinful and wicked. And he ends up with a seared conscience because of this.
And I also think that verse shows that he didn't really look past what was right in front of his face.
No.
He saw the lush green area, he saw the water, and then never, like I said before, did his homework to see everything that's around it, because
the danger lurking.
You're obviously going to be affected if you're that large of a group. You're going to be affected by a city that's right next to you, in some capacity.
Oh, absolutely. It's a place that's close to you to do business with.
Yeah,
and so then you become a part of those people's lives.
And now I don't know the age of Lot at this point in time, and I'm not sure if you do. If it
no, I
really
don't.
Hints toward it.
There's some time that passes once they split up. And then, once we get to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, he's got grown children.
Yeah.
And so, but it's so hard to tell.
And I'm just
with the age and the length of life that they live. I mean, we can kind of gather. I would assume he'd probably around his 20s and 30s, because not too long from here. We get into Abraham being about 100 years old.
Yeah.
So, 90 years old, and then this is his brother's son. So his brother would have been, a little bit younger than he. And so, maybe 30, 40.
Because I was also feeling like this was showing his immaturity.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I feel like if Lot said, I'm going to go the other way, Abraham would go that way, but I feel like he would also kind of look past, because he did have that maturity, he did have that age and that experience that Lot didn't have at this point in time, and I think he would have looked past that and kind of investigated Sodom before putting roots down in that area.
And even if Lot was more mature and more wise, then, I would imagine he would have compassion on Abraham, being the older, and how Abraham, because of him, had been blessed.
Yeah.
And to say, why don't you take that land that looks going to be easier for you to cultivate, and land that's going to be easier for your servants and for your animals, because I'm a younger guy and I can handle. Yeah.
And at the same time, we can speculate maybe Abraham knew that Lot was going to do that. And Abraham didn't want that land.
Maybe.
He probably thought, I know that's Sodom and I'm not going near it.
I'm not going near it.
So you get to pick, because I know you're going to pick that.
He left it completely up to him. And so that it is kind of interesting to think about the different possibilities. But in reality, we don't know. But definitely a lot of lessons you can learn from Lot and what he chooses and why he chooses it.
Yes. All right, 13:14. The Lord said to Abraham after Lot had parted from him, "Look around from where you are to north and south, to east and west."
All right. So here, remember, God had told Abraham some time ago, whenever you pick up and leave from Ur of Chaldees, I'm going to bless you and make you a great nation.
Yes.
And here God begins some of those blessings to Abraham. Not only now is he wealthy, he's been protected, he's got lots of servants, lots of animals, but God promised him, hey, look all around you.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to give it to you.
And I also like the how he said, look around from where you are to the north, south, east, and west, I like that imagery of like, because where they were, you could see pretty far.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a lot of land.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like how saying north, south, east, and west, it's kind of alluding to I'm not giving you boundaries as to what I'm giving you.
Right.
I'm giving you from north, south, east, and west. It's going to be yours. And whenever you say, like, if you tell somebody you got to go north, their next question is going to be how far.
Right.
And I like how God made it that he's telling you north, but not how far north. It's just all the way north. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it is. And at least in our area, it depends on where you guys are listening from, but at least in our area here in eastern part of the United States, we're surrounded with hills and trees, and you can't see very far.
Yeah. If you say north, you might only be able to see like 5 feet.
Yeah,
there's a hill right in front of you.
There's a hill right in front of you. And every once in a while when I'm on the interstate, sometimes I can look and I can see the top of a building of a place in Pittsburgh that's, maybe 10 miles away. And it's like, okay, I can see that because it's up on a hillside. But in this area, I mean, you've got visibility, which is unreal to see these mountain regions when you're in the plains. And so I just imagine, Abraham looking at all of these things, and God says, I'm going to give it to you all. And of course, this is prophetic of Moses' descendants, Abraham's descendants, which comes part of Moses and part of all the 12 tribes of Israel, and the breaking up of that land. I mean, we go to Joshua chapter 24, and he tells that promise of land has been fulfilled. This is the land that I promised to give to Abraham, to give to his descendants, and inhabit it. It's yours.
Yep.
And it's an area that is something like 200 miles from north to south. This distance is about a 200-mile radius. Which is crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Hey,
Abraham,
it's all yours, yeah.
Yeah.
It all belongs to God's people there.
Okay, 13:14. Nope, I lied. Not 13:14. Where am I?
You should be about 15, 16.
13:15. All the land that you see, I will give to you and your offspring forever.
All right. So again, this land, he's making the promise he's going to give to them. We see that in Joshua that he does, and that they need to, if they want to continue in that land, they need to continue to be obedient to God and to fight for it, and God will fight for them. But that's who the land is going to be given to.
All right, 13:16. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted.
All right.
So there's going to be a lot of them.
It is. And this is kind of reiterating what God had promised Abraham from the beginning.
Yes.
He was going to make his descendants like the sands of the sea, like the stars in the sky. And again, just using another, figure of speech, what do we call it, metaphor?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Sure.
That, your descendants are going to be like the dust. There's going to be so many of them. And you're going to be blessed because of it.
And I also like how he says, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Well, there's only one that can count the dust.
That's right. It's like trying to number the hairs on your head.
Yeah.
Right? Only God can do that.
There's nobody else that can do that.
No.
I like that.
No.
Like we said, that figure of speech that he's using there to demonstrate how many people are actually going to be his offspring.
Yes. And here's another kind of tidbit of information is, as you go through this, sometimes you get stuck in that mindset that this is a promise that is given to Abraham of the descendants that are only going to be the Jewish people.
Yes.
But then as you go to the New Testament, the Jesus and the apostles argue that it's not just the Israelites that are part of this covenant with Abraham.
Yes.
The Israelites were blessed in the covenant that God made with Moses,
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But preceding Moses was the covenant that God made with Abraham, and that's for all nations.
Yeah.
All nations will be blessed because Abraham, that's the Jewish nation, the Israelites, and everybody as well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you get into the book of Acts where God tells Peter, hey, this is the time that's going to be all nations.
Yeah.
Where everybody is able to be brought into my kingdom.
Okay. 13:17. Go walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. It's kind of like take it all in.
Take it all in. Go
Yeah.
survey it. Go check it all out. And I don't know, whether Abraham, he pitched his tent. He moved it into different places. He was in the area of Mamre for some time. So I don't know if Abraham literally said, all right, Lord, and he just started walking.
Yeah.
Kind of did a Forrest Gump kind of thing, went from end to end with the width of it and checked it all literally out. Or he could spread his wings kind of per se. And
I feel like he looked at everyone and was like, all right, you heard him.
Spread.
Let's go.
Let's go. And pick up all those people and just keep traveling. I don't know. But at least he was able to, anywhere in this land that he wanted to settle.
Yes.
God was going to provide for him and protect him in all those things that he would do.
And 13:18. So Abraham went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tents. There he built an altar to the Lord.
All right. And so this is kind of one of those central places that Abraham finds himself. And again, here he worships God by building that altar to make sacrifice to God. We're still in that patriarchal time period that's kind of run by the father, the patriarch of the family. And so he's making sacrifice to God on behalf of all his family for the blessings God has given him, that this is a land that he can settle in and to dwell.
And I think that's a good place to stop and go to Samuel.
Okay.
Sammy. Where are you? And so today, as I've just said, we'll be looking at Samuel and all that he did, which was, he's kind of an odd character because he did so many extremely important things, but there's not a lot about him. He's like in the background.
And there's two books
Yeah.
that wear his name.
Yes.
You got the 1st and 2nd Samuel, and you kind of assume, okay, well, these are books about Samuel.
Yes. No.
Not quite. It begins with him and some of the things that he did, but also through 1st and 2nd Samuel is a lot of the history of what happens throughout the Israelite people.
Yes. Hi, Mom.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. And Zinadine's here as well. And thanks for joining us.
So yeah, it was for me. It was rather difficult to get prepared for Samuel, just because, like I said, he is, while important, in the background of these two books.
Yeah.
So might as well just get into them and see what we figure out.
And it's, I think, one of those lessons that we can have an influence and we can be important, and we don't necessarily have to be that person out there who's, I don't know, making all the ruckus about things. We can make a difference just in our own lives with the things that we do and the legacy that we leave behind. And that's kind of what I really see from Samuel.
Yeah.
He had very humble beginnings, really raised as an orphan, sort of. I mean, his mom came by once a year, but, he's raised by the high priest. But we'll get into that.
Yes.
Go ahead and...
So Samuel, I can't remember the parents' names because they're odd and long, and I probably read them wrong.
Elkanah and Hannah.
There you go.
Elkanah is his daddy, and
That's
Hannah
how you say
is
that?
his mama.
Okay.
Yep. Elkanah and Hannah, and mom was barren.
Yes, that seems to be a theme in the Old Testament.
Yeah. Well, it was notable because women
didn't
who were
happen, so,
barren
yeah, well,
were kind of second class.
Yeah.
And that's how Elkanah treated Hannah.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why she cried out to God because of her I don't know, barrenness, because he treated his other wife
Better.
Yeah, he blessed her more.
Yes.
Because of her bearing children.
And she must have really... It must have been bad because she told God, if you give me a child, I will give him to you.
Mm-hmm.
I will give him up. So she must have been in a really bad situation to say she's going to give up her child.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Just didn't want that stigma of being a barren woman. Let me bear a child, and I will give him back to you.
Yes.
And
that's what she did.
That's what she did. And she's praying to God, and the priest Eli sees her praying, and he assumes she's drunk because she's moving her lips, but she's not saying anything. She's praying through her mind and praying to God for an open womb, and he does that. He blesses her with having a son, and once the child is weaned, once he's old enough not to be fed off mom, which speculate maybe 2-3 years old or so like that, she takes him to Eli, the high priest, and says, I promised God that I was going to put him in the Lord's service, and I'm going to do that. And so they take him and an offering. I think it was three bulls, wasn't it? Yeah. Verse 24 of chapter 1. Take 3 bulls and sacrifice to God and give him to Eli to be put into service.
Yes. And then I guess you'd have to talk about Eli's sons, because that's kind of how Samuel got into the position that he was in.
Yeah.
Eli's sons were not good people.
They were not good people.
They were terrible.
They were, as my Bible words it, they were corrupt.
There you go.
They did not know the Lord, which their father is the high priest.
Yes.
Right? He is the guy who is helping people understand God's word, helping them to properly offer the sacrifices.
Yes.
And his sons are culprits that are really destroying all that.
Yes.
They're sleeping around with women. They're taking of the sacrifices and eating them for themselves and not giving them to the Lord as they ought to.
Yep.
And they're taking full advantage of the Israelite people, and God is going to remove them from that position through a battle that happens a little bit later.
Yes.
But before that happens, something really interesting happens to Samuel, and it's God calls him.
Oh, yeah, he calls him, 3 times?
Yeah.
And then on the 3rd time, because Samuel thought it was Eli calling him, and like the 3rd or 4th time, Eli said, whenever you hear your name called again, say this.
Mm-hmm.
And Samuel did that, and he said something along the lines of, yes, Lord, this is your servant, or what can your servant do for you, or something along those lines, and God spoke to him.
Yeah.
And then Eli asked the next morning, tell me what the Lord said to you. And so Samuel did.
Mm-hmm. And so really, God chose Samuel to be. And this is one of the things, we talked about the judges, right? And within the book of Judges, there's really 13 judges. And sometimes, like in these children's songs or things you look up online, there's 15 judges. As the song goes, 15 judges all in all.
Yeah.
And because they include Eli and Samuel as judges. And Eli is a high priest, but then as you go through, right before Eli dies, and it said that he judged Israel. This is the end of chapter 4, verse 18, that he had judged Israel for 40 years. And so people put him as a judge, since that's how the scripture defines his role at his death as a judge. And the kind of same thing for Samuel. But more than a judge, Samuel is kind of a prophet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
He's kind of a prophet. He's kind of a judge. He has a lot of different roles. And here God chooses him to be the spokesman and to lead the people.
And I think this is where the Bible gets kind of confusing.
Okay.
Because Samuel and Eli were alive during the Judges. So the time period that the book of Judges occurred, Samuel and Eli were alive during then. So this was happening while the Judges was happening.
Yes.
And that's where I think some people start to get confused, because I think in your brain you're thinking it's
chronological order.
And it's not.
No.
And even though it doesn't say it, because it doesn't matter, really. But I think that's where some people tend to get lost, where they think this is after Judges because Samuel is after Judges.
Yeah.
And it's not.
And it's kind of concurrent with some things that are going on. And then we continue that when we get into, 1st and 2nd Samuel. Then we got 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Chronicles.
Yes.
Really, we could kind of smoosh all these books together and maybe call them the beginning of the kingdom or the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And because this is, we're going to get David and Saul, David and Solomon all throughout these books and the things that they did through them. And they're not chronological in the way they're laid out in our English Bibles, but to read them together is usually beneficial. It's kind of like the Gospels. I think we understand the Gospels a lot better, that those are 4 different accounts of the life of Jesus, and some things are different in each of them. That's the kind of same thing with 1 Samuel. Okay, you've got the beginning of Samuel, and you've got King kind of instilled as the first. Did I say that right? Saul instilled as the first king.
Yes.
And then you have David there as well, but then you have those lives throughout the rest of those books as well, and the things that they did.
And I think this also goes back to when we talked about how did Abraham know when to leave? Well, it's because Noah was still alive to let Abraham know what happened. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
So Samuel.
Yeah, he continues to grow.
Yep.
And a battle occurs, and of course Eli's sons die. Eli gets the news that his sons were killed in battle, and he's so distraught that he is old, and he falls over and he breaks his neck and he dies.
Yes.
And then Eli's daughter-in-law would have been Phinehas's wife, gives birth and dies during birth, and so a lot of tragic things happen.
Yeah.
A
lot of death.
A lot of death, and a lot of it is because of really at this time disobedience to God.
Yeah.
And some consequences.
So you're telling me they weren't walking in obedience?
They weren't walking in obedience at all. And had they been, it's Hophni and Phinehas, right? Yeah, Hophni and Phinehas, the 2 sons of Eli, would have been, the next in line high priests, but because of their disobedience and wickedness, they're taken out of the picture.
Yes.
And a lot of other bad things that happen throughout this. And that's kind of what the kind of neat thing about Samuel is. Okay, so we got Samuel grown up, right? And then we're kind of left, right? Samuel grew and the Lord was with him, and none of his words fall to the ground. That's kind of the end of chapter 3. And it stops with Samuel there. Then we got the instance of Eli dying and his sons dying. We get the instance of the Ark of the Covenant being stolen, taken from the Philistines. And
which, by the way,
again,
I have to say something about that.
Okay.
If you just brought a box into your city and then you go to sleep and wake up and your statue of your, air quotes, God is fallen on the floor, maybe that box is a little more powerful than yours.
Yes.
How did that not, like, they'd say, you know what, they got some, I think they have something here. I think those Israelites have something.
Yeah.
We're going to go that way. I don't understand how that didn't work in their brain.
Yeah. And so, they put their God back up on the altar, right?
Yeah, the next morning, hey, get up there, big guy, come on.
Right? And then the next morning, they go back out, and it's fallen over again. And this time, its neck's broken, right? Yeah. And the arms, the hands, have broken off. And they're like, there's some bad juju.
They just got the crazy glue and put them back together.
With this this ark that they had taken off of the Israelites. And so they ship it off. Like, okay,
we don't want this anymore.
But who they ship it to? They ship it to their own people.
Yeah.
Let's send this to the next city over yonder of our kinfolk, right?
Yes.
And give it to them. We've got apparently overrun with rats because they take the rats, they dip them in gold and put them in the ark. Overrun with rats and overrun with tumors.
Yeah.
And really kind of interesting when you study the tumors, kind of an idea of external hemorrhoids, which is gross. But
dip that in gold too.
Yeah,
they're just dipping everything in gold.
Dipping everything in gold.
We don't care.
And they ship it off from city to city to city to city, and then eventually they're like, "This is awful. We're dying off here. Let's ask some priests what to do. So let's put it on a cart with some fresh cows, and just let it go." And of course, those cows go right back to the Israelites.
Yeah.
It's got to be God-led.
I just don't understand how that happens. And they don't just say, well, clearly that God is a little more powerful than ours. We're going to follow him.
That would be the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
That would be
I
the
don't
smart
understand
thing to
that
do.
at all.
And
was this also the story when it fell off the cart?
That happens a little bit later.
Okay, I was going to say I can't remember where that happened.
That happens a little later on, where Uzzah tries to steady the cart, and that comes from disobedience too, because they weren't supposed to be transporting it that way. Yeah, it was supposed to be carried on poles, and you wouldn't have to worry about it falling. But you try to take the easy way out, try to take shortcuts.
Millennials,
and see what happens. But and so we kind of poke fun at the Philistines for doing this. Well, there's the real God who is, more powerful.
Literally destroying your God.
Literally.
Yes.
Yeah. And but then you also see the Israelites. How many times do they had to be commanded to put away the Astaroths and the Baals and these the idol gods before them and follow the true and living God. That is the reason why they got the Philistines got the ark to begin with, because of their disobedience. And they've got God right there with them.
And then what's crazy too is that then they started saying, "We want a king."
Yeah.
And God said, "You already have one, me."
Right.
And so he told Samuel, go ahead, give him a king.
Yeah.
Apparently they want one, and this is not going to be a good one.
And it never worked out good.
No.
I mean, even though there were some good kings, David and Solomon were good kings, but it still never worked out in the favor at all. There was always contention that was going on. And that, again, you just see the influence that the world around us has.
Yes.
Why did they want a king? They wanted a king because the people around about them had a king.
Yes.
I mean, that's exactly what they say. We want a king like the people about us do.
And I think it also shows the power of sin in this world.
Absolutely.
And how much that is more appealing to us.
The desire.
Yeah.
The desire of sin.
So Samuel anoints Saul.
He does. He goes, anoints Saul. Saul is a... Are we going to talk about Saul later?
No. Well, yeah, we'll talk about Saul next week.
Okay.
He could have been better.
Yes, he could have been.
He fell short.
He did.
For what he should have done.
And then he went a little crazy.
Yeah.
But we'll
just
talk
a
about
little
that
crazy.
Just a little crazy.
Yeah.
And so then Samuel then goes, anoints
David.
Yeah, he comes to Jesse's house and he checks out all the boys, and finally it's the youngest son, David, that he anoints to be the next chosen king.
And it's pretty much Samuel.
That pretty much Samuel?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's not much about a man who has 2 books named after him.
That was the time that he was, and he kind of comes in and out.
Yeah.
To try to correct Saul.
Yeah.
And Saul won't listen to him. And then he comes in at least once. I'm not sure, it's a couple times with David.
Yeah.
To help him out as well. And so that's what's kind of interesting about Samuel is that, he's listed kind of as one of those judges, if you do the 15 judges. But he's also a prophet.
Yes.
As well.
So thank you, everybody.
And we're out of time.
For listening, yeah. Thank you, everybody in Twitch. We'll still be on here to do the Q&A. So anybody who is listening on the podcast, if you want to take part in the Q&A, got to come over to twitch.tv/FuzzySpartan. If you're not part of Twitch, you will have to sign up, which is free. You just need an email, a username, and a password. That's it. It's very easy. It's just like YouTube, except YouTube's a little bit easier just because Google forces you to have a YouTube account if you have a Gmail.
Yeah.
But Twitch is completely free, and we do this every Wednesday and Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern over on twitch.tv/FuzzySpartan. Also, for everybody in Twitch land and everybody who listens to the podcast, I will reiterate that we do have a Patreon over at patreon.com/walkinobedience. All of that money is to be used to help grow this ministry. So if you feel like growing this ministry is important to you, or if you feel like this ministry has done something to you and you want to give back financially, then you can do that over there. We have different tier sets, so you can give a little, you can give a lot, you can give anything in between if you want to. If you don't, that is completely fine, because we're going to keep doing this no matter what, every single week. As long as my basement doesn't flood again, then Dave's not busy. And we will still be here no matter what. So
we will be here.
Thank you, Dave, for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me, and I always enjoy being able to sit down and study the Word with you. That's why we're always going to be here no matter what.
Yeah.
Because
it's always good to study.
We're going to study the Bible together.
Yeah, no matter what.
And we just always appreciate if we can bring other people into that.
Yes. So thank you guys for listening. We're going to do the Q&A now. So everybody on the podcast, I appreciate you spending the time to listen. And as always, God bless, and we'll see you. Okay. What did Zen say? Dave loves us too much to be too busy.
That's right.
Zenadine knows.
That's right. I had
Do you want me to save this or just import it as an MP3 or convert or whatever? Export.
If you just want to export to MP3,
that's fine.
That just saves one step I'll do later on.
Where is it?
Where's what?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Export audio?
Export audio.
Okay.
And then I'll give you the option. It should already be set up and
MP3
right
file name.
Yep, just today's date. Where you are.
25.
Good. Should go.
18. Save.
I had
Okay.
a funeral this morning, and it was just Grayside services that made things work out all right. And Shane was asking me, he says, "Did you have to cancel your Bible study with Fuzzy?" And I was like, "No, why?" He says, "You're going to make it back in time?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's only half hour out there, half hour back, and Grayside's only maybe 15 minutes, especially in the cold." And I said, "Oh, I have all kind of plenty of time." You got to make time to study the Bible.
That's right. So, did you see Zen's question? I'm assuming that's why you're looking in the Bible.
I
saw Endor. I thought he was talking about Star Wars.
the solar system Endor. I'm trying to rack my brain about Endor, and I'm not certain about that. Now, most people do not believe that Samuel wrote the book of Samuel. They think maybe he wrote the first couple chapters of his life, because in chapter 24 he pretty much says, "Catch you later," and that's the end of his life, his farewell address, if you will. But then you got the rest of the book of 1 Samuel, and then you got 2 Samuel, and of course both of those were really one book.
Yeah.
But they're broken up more, kind of like Kings of Chronicles. Were all 4 of those books were really one book, but they're broken up.
Zenadine, if you Google Samuel and the Witch of Endor, Got Questions has a whole thing on it. It's not very long too, which is nice with them.
Does it give a reference to the Witch of Endor?
1 Samuel 28, 7 through 20. It says, "Did the Witch of Endor really summon Samuel from the dead?" Zenadine destroyed the chat. Look, we have so many people talking.
I had...
it's all right, Zen.
I completely blanked on Endor, and I don't remember. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
He remembers.
When
now.
Saul tries to go back, and I was like, "Witch of Endor," and I was thinking, is this like from Lord of the Rings or something?
There's no Endor in Lord of the Rings.
I didn't remember that at all, but it was whenever Saul was consulting the witch instead of trying to go to God to get some help with the Philistines and what to do with David. And gotcha.
Apparently, they think he was dead, and the Witch of Endor summoned him, because they say it's the only biblical account of someone being visited by someone who was deceased.
So she was using witchcraft,
witchery
to what do we call that today? Where you're like a medium through the other side.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Yeah,
they said a medium.
And so he's able to give Saul some advice. I would assume that's the same Samuel. I forgot all about that episode.
So I guess it is the same Samuel.
Yeah, it seems like it. But And so, I mean, there's no doubt that Samuel couldn't have wrote the other latter half of 1 Samuel nor into 2 Samuel. And I don't know if anybody has any idea who really wrote it all other than just Jewish tradition.
Well, also, didn't Samuel write Judges? I thought I read somewhere that he did write Judges. Because he wasn't alive for all of the Judges, was he? I don't believe he was.
He shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
No, especially to get the beginning.
This is from an argument
Judges,
from way
yeah.
back that I wanted to figure out, and now I have my answer. So I feel better about myself.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may or may not have been an argument that I was having with, why can't I remember how to say his last name? I'm just going to call him Rabbi.
Rabbi guy, yeah.
Yeah, Rabbi guy, I like it.
Rabbi guy. Yeah.
Rabbi
And
guy, because he said that Matthew is not an eyewitness account. Matthew or Mark, I think it was Matthew.
Yeah.
And I made the statement that neither is Judges. Because Samuel wrote Judges.
Well, neither is the whole book of Genesis.
Yeah.
It's not I mean, if he wants to get into technical eyewitness account, that is neither. You know, that's written by Moses some, maybe
Who knows
15,
how long, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, at least it's some about 1,500 years.
Yeah.
Parts of it, because it covers a whole gamut of time frame. But, and a lot of the authorships of the Old Testament, especially the beginning, are difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, you get into, these are the books of Moses. I mean, we know Moses wrote Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. But even, you get into some difficulty with the end of Deuteronomy. You can't record your own death.
Yeah.
So do you record it by prophecy, or, is that time kind of Joshua taking over?
Yeah.
And I guess in my mind it would make sense because, they're writing on scrolls and they're recording their history as they're writing on scrolls. And so, all these people would have their hand. Moses would have his hand in writing, the Joshua would as well. Samuel could have written, his part as well. Did he record when his mother? Did he record when he was growing up? Or were there some of those things recorded by some other people as well? But
speaking of scrolls, did you see they found more Dead Sea Scrolls? Either they found...
I saw something about a year or so ago.
It was either they found more or they translated them.
Maybe to translate.
Completely.
Yeah.
Now, these are, from what I read, the Dead Sea Scrolls are the oldest that they have version of the Bible.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure to say because there's
my point
some
is
of the Masoretic texts and some of the text from Alexandria.
My point is, why are they calling them the Dead Sea Scrolls? Why don't they just call them the Bible?
Well, that's what it is.
Because the Dead Sea Scrolls makes it sound like they're these...
Well, that's where they were found.
Like mystical things, and they don't tell you, oh yeah, it's just the Bible.
Yeah. Which is, I think, just an awesome find. And I think we talked about this before, just with the Dead Sea Scrolls, because it really kind of confirms the Old Testament that it hadn't changed.
Oh, yeah.
We found the Dead Sea Scrolls 1940 whatever, 46, 48, something like that. And we know they were come from the Essene period, which was, something like 100 BC or so, around there. So it was before the time of Jesus that these things were written, and they were hidden because Rome was coming into power and they were coming over to conquer the land.
Yeah.
And so they were hidden because they knew they were going to be destroyed. And it's the Old Testament scriptures. And the Old Testament scriptures that we have now don't really at all differentiate from the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
And Unknown said the Septuagint is much older. I don't know. I didn't even know what the Septuagint was until like a month ago when someone said it in chat. So.
I mean, Jesus quoted from the Septuagint. The Septuagint was the 70 elders that were chosen to translate the Bible from Hebrew to Greek. I can't. It might be. I don't know if it was much older, but.
And Unknown also said they're called the Dead Sea Scrolls because they're not just the Bible. There's other scrolls there too.
There's some other
stuff.
Yeah, other scrolls of other things. And there's other writings, I guess we'll put it that way.
It is interesting when they find stuff like that, though.
Well, it gives confirmation.
Yeah, like you said, it shows that it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people who don't believe want to say that, well, it's been translated and changed and so on and so forth. But then when you have something this old and it shows you that no, it hasn't.
Right. And not of any significance, like some of the and ands article kind of things are.
I like what Frank Turek said. Somebody asked him, what about all the translations? Like, how do you know those are right? And why are there so many? Why are there so many, like New King James and NIV and King James and ESV and American Standard? And he said, if you think about it, if you have 4 different kinds, whatever, translations or NIV, New King, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And you look at a specific sentence, and all 4 of those sentences, like they say, the Lord was. But in the first version, the L in the Lord is gone, but you only have ORD. And then each other one just loses a word or a letter.
Oh, okay.
If you take all of them together, you can see what it says. Which is what we've always said. You should be reading multiple versions to get the whole story.
Yeah. When I do study, I like using multiple.
And so he said when you put them together, you know that they're the same. Also, if you find a 5th one that doesn't say the same as the other 4, you're going to know that's false.
There's definitely something up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you only have one, it can be falsified easily.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have many, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And that's what, a lot of the different translations that I know you're just using that as an example, but, originate from different, the Sinaitic text or the Masoretic text.
Yeah.
Those kind of different things. But, all in all, the basic teaching of the Scripture doesn't change.
Yes.
And all those things.
And Unknown, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoy it. Also, if you have any questions, that's what we're taking right now. So if anyone has any questions, please put them in chat. We're going to hang around for a couple more minutes and answer any questions that you have. So don't worry if you think it's going to be like crazy or off the wall or like anything insane. We don't care. Any question that you have, we will answer to the best of our ability.
And if you can't tell, I'm not a huge historian. Some of these things, I'm like, I remember reading up something about it once and a long time ago, and
we will try.
Got to go back and check it out again.
Yeah. And like Zenadine put up the Discord, if we can't fully answer your question right now, we can further answer your question better in the Discord later.
See, it's 132 BC.
He's checking stuff.
Dead Sea Scrolls.
$1:30 Eastern, Zenadine. 12:30 for you. 12:30. What is that? Central? Yeah, 12:30 Central.
Central
No,
that
is Mountain. Is that Mountain? Yeah, because he's in Mississippi. Zenadine. So it's 12:30. Is that Central or Mountain time?
Mississippi should be Central.
Okay, so it's 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern.
Yeah, because he should be just an hour behind us. Yeah.
Am I the only one that completely forgets that there's Mountain time?
Yeah, no, I forget about it too.
I always just think there's Eastern, Central, and Mountain. Or not, Eastern, Central, and Pacific. See, I can't remember. I can't forget it now.
See, this is kind of interesting. Just a quick Google.
Whew, it's late for you.
Is
unknown.
The Septuagint, or what I just say, 142 BC, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is a huge estimated time frame.
Well, thank you for that follow, Unknown. I appreciate that.
Is 408 BC to 318
what?
CE. I mean, that's just humongous. You're talking 400 years before the time of Christ, and you're talking about almost 400 years after.
Yeah.
800-year span.
But if you also think about
that
it,
we don't know when the...
Yeah. If you think about it, too, the Bible was written over how many years?
I mean, it was.
Yeah.
You know,
so
it spans about 15...
If the Dead Sea Scrolls are as vast as they think they are, I mean, I guess it's possible that it could have went over that many years.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me, because Rome would have taken over this area, the Qumran, for those people.
Well, they buried him in the Dead Sea.
Then.
They just kept putting him in the Dead Sea.
They just kept putting him
They putting him in Ziploc bags.
Oh, fuzzy.
With some mothballs.
I love you.
And then tied some rocks on the end. And threw him in the Dead Sea.
Oh, you're funny.
Well, I'm happy that you found us, Unknown, and thank you for that follow. I hope you enjoy it. We also have a podcast. If you check down below, under the stream, you can find our podcast. I would suggest checking out iTunes or Podbean. If I'm sure they have a version of Podbean over the pond in whatever a European country you are in. Hopefully Podbean does. Couldn't see why it wouldn't. If not, iTunes does.
He's probably... You in Czechoslovakia? Yeah, there's still Czechoslovakia.
It's Czech Republic.
Czech Republic. I knew I wasn't saying that right.
Or Slovakia.
I just kind of wonder with Unknown CZ.
Yeah, now we need to get rid of Dave. He doesn't know his European countries. He's offending our European fans.
As soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, wait a minute. I know that's not quite accurate.
There are a lot of hockey players that would be very upset with you.
Yes. Yes, there would be. Many of which.
Hey, you're right. Czech Republic. Look at that.
There we go.
So,
Welcome,
I'm sure there's an iTunes over there. Just check out Speak Where the Bible Speaks, and under that, it's titled Walk in Obedience. So,
yeah.
If you want to check out the podcast, you can check it out over there.
Welcome, Unknown.
Yes, thank you for the follow again. It is always appreciated.
Gary Workman was a friend of... the name came right to my mind. And
I was looking in chat where...
Gary
I don't
Workman,
see that name in chat.
He's an older gentleman, a friend of mine who did a lot of missionary work right near... my mind just drew a blank. What was that? Never mind. Forget it. Don't worry about it.
What was what? Now we need to know.
It's all gone. It's all gone.
He did work somewhere, missionary work somewhere in the world. I hope
Ukraine.
There we go.
He did missionary work in the Ukraine, which is kind of getting close to that area. My mind just is not working today.
I went to school with somebody from the Ukraine.
Yeah?
Yeah. Not college, like. before college, like middle school. She was born here, and her brother, but her parents were from the Ukraine. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. We're going to call it for now. And
you know what? Before you sign off here,
okay,
this is something we've got to like plan for like our 5-year anniversary. You know, you make these long-term plans. Right?
Oh yeah. Well,
here's our 5
We'll be
year.
doing it for 5 years because we're not going to be out of Genesis.
We're not gonna be we're gonna do a 5-year strategic plan. Is
Finish Genesis.
Everybody that's on our Discord and who join us on our live stream,
Yes,
here on Twitch, to go around the world and visit
in 80 days.
all these people that bless us with their presence, and we go visit them in their country, and then when we come back, we'll have a renewed understanding of the life and the culture where all these people are.
I don't have the money for that.
God will bless us.
I also have a job.
We can just take our wives and our families and take a sabbatical from our work. And,
I don't think the Chem Lab's going to be happy with that. I don't think the union will fight for me to get that. Sell our houses, buy a tiny house, and take it with us.
See,
Put it on a boat.
that's right.
Yeah, I won't have to go far for my mother. So that'll be our first stop.
That's right.
There you go.
Nice and close. We're
Yeah.
just right down the road. Well, not right down the road, but
Compared to the Czech Republic, we're right down the road.
that's right. So much closer.
The next stop can be, I guess, Connecticut for humor.
Yeah, we can
And
see
then,
humor.
and then down to Mississippi for Zen.
Yes. I'm sure Zen wouldn't mind us like
Oh.
creeping on him for
He probably
You know,
would act like
a
he
week.
doesn't know us.
here are these two fools coming knocking on my
He's going
door.
to call the police. There's these two crazy guys. They keep saying they know me.
They don't even know my real name. They just keep calling me Zenadine.
He said, I'll save you the trouble. Don't come to Mississippi.
It's a beautiful state. I didn't, but my mother. I wasn't old enough to drive. I was probably, might have been old, 15, 16. Maybe old enough to drive. My mother got a speeding ticket going through Mississippi.
Nice.
Yes.
Police will get you.
roads. We were heading to Little Rock, Arkansas on a road trip to visit the university down there, Harding University. Cersei. She was speeding.
Those Mississippi police will get you.
It was, oh man. The feller that pulled us over, I mean, he was really nice, but he had such a drawl in his accent. We couldn't understand what he was saying. He kept asking what year the car was, but it kept saying like, "Well, yeah, what? Well, yeah." Like, what year is it? And I was like, "Ow!" I was like, I had no clue.
I'm not from here.
Yeah.
My
It's
one
of those things,
friend-
you get a ticket so far away, you just pay it.
My one friend came to work one morning and goes, I learned today that a cop can pull you over when they think you ran a red light and they're in front of you.
Really?
Because he was behind a cop coming to work,
Mm-hmm.
and they went through the light, and it changed yellow after the cop went through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my friend said if he tried to stop, he would have had to have slammed on his brake, which
Right.
isn't safe.
Probably got rear-ended.
Yeah, so he went through it, and it wasn't red. It was red like when he was under it.
Yeah.
So the cop slowed down. My friend passed him, and as soon as my friend passed him, the cop turned his lights on, pulls him over, and the cop goes, so you ran that red light back there. And my friend goes, how could you see I ran a red light? You were in front of me.
Right?
And the cop says, don't argue with me.
Don't argue with me.
And he said, I
I'm
saw
gonna
you ran the
particularly
red light.
Argue with the judge.
And
if you
my
want to.
friend again goes, you were in front of me. How would you know? And he said, don't argue with me. I also noticed that you weren't passing in the passing lane when you moved over. And he said, I moved over because you slowed down and I didn't want to rear end you. And he goes, don't argue with me.
So the moral of the story is, don't argue with the police officer.
The cop, I think the reason he said don't argue with me was because he said, I'm just going to give you a warning.
Oh.
And I told my friend the reason he can only give you a warning is because if you fought that in court and said he was in front of me, he was through the light, he couldn't see it.
Yeah.
The judge would have said, all right, leave.
Get out of here. I tell you what, I really like those GoPros, that people are putting in their cars.
Yeah.
Because, there's this proof right there that somebody cut you off or that you didn't run the red light. Or
Zenadine said, we will very easily combine 4 words into 1 syllable.
I did the same thing. Combine 4.
It's easier that way.
That's right.
That's called being efficient.
Absolutely.
We need to be more efficient with our verbiage so then we can say what we need to say and then we're out.
We're done. That's right.
It's just like texting. If anyone's ever watched Elementary, one of the first episodes in the first season, the guy who plays Sherlock Holmes, the way he texts is that he texts the first letter of every word in the sentence. And that's all.
What?
And the person who plays Watson goes, what does this mean? And that's when he said that. He goes, it's more efficient that way. That's what we need to start doing.
That would be difficult to decipher.
I will tell that to your old English teachers. They don't know what they're talking about. Who knows English? Clearly I don't. So anyway, we are going to be done for the day. Next week, we're actually finally going to do...
We're doing the tulip?
Yeah, we're going to... Now, and I'm going to let everyone know, okay. I wanted to, since I know nothing about Calvinism, and I found Got Questions has a whole explanation of every single point in Tulip.
Oh, yeah.
But their explanation is like 3 pages long.
Oh, wow.
So I'm thinking what I might want to do is like next week we just do total depravity. Okay. And then I will read from what Got Questions has because I have a lot of issues with what they have.
Okay.
And then like once we get to a point where I say, all right, I have an issue with this, I'll say something. And then if you have an idea or while I'm reading, if you need me to stop and you say that doesn't coincide with this, we can do that. And I think that's a good way because Got Questions does do a really good job of
explaining.
Yeah. They do a good job of explaining it, and they use biblical references to help their argument. So
for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, on Wednesday, then we'll cover the different aspects.
We know what we're doing for the next 5 weeks.
Okay,
right, I like it.
I like it.
So next Wednesday we'll be doing total depravity in Calvinism. If you want to read along with us on Got Questions, I can put the link in Discord.
Cool.
And you can read along with us if you'd like. And then next Thursday we'll continue in Genesis and we'll do Saul.
Okay.
So that's
the plan, man.
That's what we're doing for the next week. So thank you everyone for being here. I hope you had a good time. I did.
Hey, I did.
Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Dave.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate y'all.
And
I hope and pray that you have a very blessed rest of your week.
Yes, I will see my mother on Sunday because
you better.
We're putting our floor in.
Oh, yes.
And since I'm on midnight,
finishing the
I'll be home. Yeah. It's only going to take, there's like 5 more pieces that need to go in, so that will take like
5 more hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because they're going to be difficult pieces to cut.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, thank you, Unknown, for that follow, and you also have a great day. And everybody else, thank you guys for being here. I hope you all have wonderful days, evenings, nights, whatever you're doing in this world. Hopefully, I can see you next week. If not, I hope you have a wonderful week coming up. Mm-hmm. And as always, God bless, and I'll see you.
Take care, guys. God bless you.